All right. By the way, I got the Milk Today t-shirt, one of my older Milk Today long sleeve t-shirts on. Um,
Thanks for my apparel. God.
yeah, we got to get the merch back. Um, Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Milk the Day podcast. And today, um, as you know, the Milk the Day lifestyle is living every day to the fullest by striving to make a positive impact in any way possible. And this Milk the Day podcast lifestyle is my outlet and vehicle for attempting to share something valuable and make a positive impact on anyone who listens or watches this. That's what this is about. That's my introduction. And I'm so pumped to have a very close friend of mine who we've talked about this forever and we've finally doing it. And I apologize in advance because we are perfectionists and we'd love to have her in person in the studio to have higher quality audio. But all my friends, a lot of people I know are long distance. So we have to do what we have to do. And this is a Zoom interview. Sana Khan, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
um, Sana is has so much intellectual depth and an amazing outlook on life. And we have always, well, I was going to, how we know each other is from, we both worked at a software AI company called Veritone, and we worked together and became quick friends through work. And we've been close friends ever since. And we have 2 or 3 hour long phone calls where we dive into the depths of different topics and things, and we've ever since we become friends, we've been like, oh, we need to do an episode. So I'm pumped to have you here and to finally just chop it up. So thanks for being down for it. I know we've talked about this for a while.
I'm like, every time we talk, it always becomes like a rabbit hole, and you're just like, there's just so much good insight. We've been needing to make an episode, and I was like, I'm just really excited to see what rabbit hole we go down today on this podcast. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. No, you're the absolute best. I love you dearly, and I'm just excited to chop it up. And so you're reporting live from Orange County, California, where it's much warmer here in Kansas City. Um, It's literally, what is it right now? It's like 20 degrees here. So I envy where you are. You're live from Orange County. And Sana, why don't you introduce yourself the way that you'd like to, as far as like your background with your life, who you are, what you're into, your work, fly over your life and your work history and shit, because you have such an interesting background, so people can get to know who you are, and then we'll dive in.
All right. I feel like I'm really terrible at introductions myself, but let's see. So I was originally born in the Bay, California, all the way. Born and raised here, and yeah, now I'm in Southern California. Went to school up there. Life was pretty normal, but I guess the one thing that sets me apart from most people is I actually grew up and went to an Islamic Orthodox school from like the fourth grade up until eighth grade or something like that. And then I went to public school, but that entire class went with me. So my background is I'm Pakistani American. My parents are both from Pakistan, so like I'm 100% Pakistani. And with my culture, like it's more so like moderate Islam or maybe liberal. You don't really go into orthodoxy. That's something that's more
Mm.
orthodox. So the fact that I grew up with that, like I wore hijab, I was like a youth group leader, like I was very much in it. Wearing abayas, like all that stuff. I guess that's what makes me really different from like the average Californian. While everyone else is out there surfing, I'm just like, hey, let's talk about Islam and Dawa. Like, let's just see what's going on. But I have left that. I'm a humanist now. My love is medicine, science, um, like women's rights, and psychedelics, and they're all kind of intertied together. I'm a huge CrossFit junkie, so I do CrossFit and lifting has always been like my loves. What else? I've skipped around a lot. Like I was getting ready for medical school and then had a lot of stuff happen. And then I jumped into like the cannabis industry. I was like a tissue culture scientist for a while. Learned a lot about psychedelics there, and now I work in pharma. And it's like weird because some people think it's like opposite sides, but I can kind of
Yeah.
see they're tied together because regulation is like really important to me. My
Wait,
background is,
Sana, really quick. I know your headset microphone's like, is it like on the table? I'm getting a little bit of feedback. I don't know if you're like,
yeah.
if you're touching the table or like, or if it's like moving. I don't know. I just felt like it was like chopping out or something.
Is it better now?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was like it was weird. It was like I was wondering if it was on the table and maybe you were like moving your hands or like moving and something. I don't know. If you maybe if you hold it like that, it'll let's see if it's better.
I just don't want to fuck up my hair, so that's why it's just down here. But yeah, it was on the table. I was probably touching the wire. But anyways, yeah, so I work in pharma now, and honestly, I think my job is great. And now I live in Southern California. I'm in Orange County. I very much like my life down here. The sun is amazing. But I'm also very much in love with Europe. I just got back like a couple months ago,
This
and
is and which is another thing I want to talk about too.
it's we're like being lied to in so many ways. I know I shouldn't say that, but no, I really loved Europe, and yeah, I am trying to move there, and we'll kind of see how everything works out for me, especially with just everything that's going on. So that I think that's me in like a nutshell. But yeah.
No, thank you. And I like it's funny because when I asked them like you to introduce yourselves like without trying to make this too like formal or like professional, it's like I think it's easier to give you kind of a flyover of your life like from you, and that's perfect. Like that's a perfect flyover so people have some context. But um, honestly, like we can go into any of the things that we want to talk about, but I think we might as well dive right into like the psychedelic side of you that I know you're super passionate about healing healing yourself, whether it's trauma, emotionally, like just the benefits and the personal insights and positive impact that specifically psychedelic mushrooms have had on you and how you've experienced with clients and being in the healthcare industry has helped you kind of uncover the need and the use for like psychedelic mushrooms for different use cases, different things. But it's like if you would share more about like some of like I know you've had like some pretty like profound like growth from using psychedelic mushrooms. So I don't know how much you want to share of like your own experience with psychedelics and mushrooms and how it's helped you in your life, and then where your vision is for like what you want to do and how you want to use psychedelics and like you. This is just one of the biggest things
All right.
that yeah. I'll let you run with it. Like
Well, first and foremost, I do not condone the use of any psychedelics on this podcast. Just moving forward, I'm just saying I do not condone the use of it. However, based on my research of what I have found,
mm,
whether anecdotal or what other people, um, I think psychedelics is something that we have all needed for a very long time. So as someone who has been in like the medical space, my background is in nuclear medicine, so like imaging, but I also understand mental health very well, especially as someone who grew up in a very restricted um, childhood and background. So for me, the first thing that I actually used was cannabis. My brother, who I love very dearly, I'm very close to him. He was just kind of like, "Hey, Sana, like you're so type A. Like I'm really concerned about you." And I was like, "But like, what do you mean? Like, what's so concerning about me?" And I had like really bad anxiety, and I didn't know it was anxiety. Because growing up, you just kind of pray everything away. Like if you have anxiety, I think also with my parents, they were just like, "This is just something that like we're used to, and it'll go away." But it was really bad. Like I would be having like severe panic attacks. But like I'm like a runner, I'm like an athlete, like and I was just like, oh no, like maybe this is just something I need to control in my body. And so although cannabis isn't really considered a psychedelic, because it doesn't like alter your perception in any way, it just kind of enhances a lot of things that are in your body, but it also tends to lower some things. But I just remember the first time I had eaten edible. This was a long time ago, like in 2016. I just felt like my nervous system finally calmed down. And so there's something called like the default mode network in your brain. And it's very closely tied to like your amygdala, so like the fear center. And so there's like a lot of chatter that can happen in there. And so I just felt like when I took that, like all the chatter finally died. And I think this was like really profound for me because when that anxiety was finally gone, I felt like I could finally like meet myself again. I used to be like when I was a kid, I was just like a goofball, just very like funny, humorous, very magnetic, very playful. And I felt like a lot of that was just kind of layered over with like expectations, cultural expectation, religious expectations, academic
Yeah.
expectations. And so finally when I smoked or like when I had eaten the edible, I was just like, I just felt so great. Like every part of me felt great. And I think that just really propelled me forward and to be like, from the medical side, to be like, I think that there's something here that can really help people.
Right.
It's interesting because when I did that, like it really unlocked like my left brain thinking. So like a lot more logic, a lot more critical thinking. I started asking more questions, but it was something that was always innately in me. Like a lot of people have told me that I'm quite logical, but also very like intuitive and compassionate. But this side really allowed me to just kind of focus on that. And it gave me a lot of peace. And so I had left medicine at that point. I was taking care of my grandmother until she passed. And I think I just really needed a break because I was like in it for like 10 years. And again, the anxiety just, I couldn't, like, I just couldn't take the MCAT. Like, I just kept blaming myself. Like I said, perfectionism, but like to the nth degree. It was just very, it was a lot. And so I was like, there's something about and CBD or like the medicinal benefits of cannabis that I really want to explore further. And so then I just dove into the cannabis industry. I got a job and then eventually worked my way up to basically becoming like a tissue culture scientist, where we were starting to look at like lab grown cannabis without without the pathogens or any of the bugs and stuff. And then of course, like when you're in the cannabis industry, like you are exposed to a lot of other things. I had never done any drugs up at that point, and even in my mind, I didn't consider cannabis a drug. I was like, no, this is medicine, like it helps people. And a
Yeah.
friend was like, oh, like they used to call me Doc. So they're like, hey, Doc, like you should try like magic mushrooms. And I was like, what's magic mushrooms? And I remember like a friend of mine giving me some and he just kind of handed them to me, and like my public health brain was like, how much is this, like what's gonna happen, is this the dose? And it's very much like, oh, just like take it and see what happens. So I took it and it was a wonderful experience, and I'm very grateful that I had a friend guide me through that. But the thing is, that was my first dose and it was like a heroic dose, so like something over 3 grams where you're like really hallucinating. I did not recommend that as the first time. Like, don't ever go that high because that's not a normal dose. That's like a when you're ready. But he just kind of threw me into the deep end, and I was like, I guess this is how I learned how to swim. But the experience that I had was so profound, and the thing about psilocybin or magic mushrooms, it's a very like it's a connecting drug. It connects you to yourself. You have a lot of introspection, and then it connects you to the world around you. So if anything, it just makes you more human and more compassionate. Like I remember seeing like a little girl and her mom on the beach because we were on the beach. And I was like, wow, like I am no different from them and they are no different from me.
Mm.
Like I'm not seeing the color of their skin. Like I'm not seeing anything, like they're human, I'm human. And there was this like overall love that I just had for everybody. And I think that's just what happens when you're on a dose that high, is like you love everybody around you. But there was like a vision that I guess I had, or like introspection, that kind of showed me like the collective pain of women when I was on that trip. And, being someone who's like a skeptic, I was like, what is this? But it was like so profound that to this day I still remember it. And I think that became like my North Star almost in a sense, because I was like, it's like I felt the pain of every single woman that ever walked on earth, whether it was like a Native American, like an Aztec woman, like women from my own culture. And it was like we just had this collective pain that we just can't speak about. Whether it's like sexual pain or like period pain. It's just this is what makes women women. Like this is what we go through.
Yeah.
And I just remember coming out of that trip and just being like, and I remember I texted my sister-in-law and I was like, I just felt like I took something that is so profound that I feel like the entire world should know about this, specifically women. Like I felt like this could really help women. And I thought a lot about the women like in Islam or like any religion, to be honest, or just the script that we've had our entire life, including like my mother and my grandmother's. So that's kind of how I really became intrigued in magic mushrooms because there was just so much growth that happened. I just realized, or like one thing I experienced was after taking it, like I felt different. I felt more calm. I felt like I was more closer to my true self or like my childlike self. Um, and so then I just started studying it. Like, I was going on PubMed. I was trying to read because I'm very clinical. I like to see the evidence. Like, I think anecdotal data is fantastic, but I want to see how this works on a standardized level. Like, will this work
Yeah.
for it, because everyone's like, no, it's like a miracle drug. And I'm like, I think that's a bit of a stretch, but yes, it helps the majority of people, but if there's like a minority of people it doesn't help, like why? So that's always been like my thing. And honestly, like I just haven't stopped studying. I've been researching it more and more about the different strains, the different types of introspections you feel, and how every single culture on earth weirdly has like a strain of mushroom and how they all create different types of introspection. So I've talked to some psychiatrists. I have friends in like the medical field, and they all agree that, SSRIs, as good as they are and as much as they've helped up until this point, we still need more medications, especially when it comes to mental health. And they've all said, like across the board, they're like, we have never seen anything performed this well in trials or even with their own patients. So we can kind of see it as like the medicine everyone's been needing, especially in the future, with just how everything is happening in the world. So I think that's just kind of became a part of my core, but it's also interesting because like it's pushing me back into medicine, especially now that I'm back in pharma. Like I really do miss medicine a lot from like a research and just like patient perspective. But like what is it that I want to do in the future? With psychedelics, I I guess I'm like half a scientist, half a physician. Like that's just what I am at heart. So I really want to see how this works for like ailments that we haven't touched on for women. So like menopause is a really big one, or perimenopause, or like PMDD, or endometriosis, just things that women go through. And I think that has just always been my core. Like anything and everything I do now, I'm just like, well, how does this affect women? How is this benefiting them? How is this harming them? And so I think I'll be going back to med school and or just finally finishing it or whatever. And I can see myself like having like a company in the future, a microdosing company, consulting. I get a lot of questions now about it, and I've just kind of like put together like a huge like SOP of, all these frequently asked questions because it's like the media is obviously portraying it more now. A lot more people are becoming more interested in it, and I'm glad for
Yeah.
that. And it's not just like Gen Z, it's like also like boomers. And there's just so much about the fungus that we're still discovering. And I think that's what's so amazing about it because weirdly enough, the smaller the dose, the bigger the medicinal benefit, like including like neuroplasticity. So then your neurons are like reconnecting, which we thought was like impossible. I remember when I was in college, like my professor was like, it's once a neuron dies, it dies. But this is showing us otherwise. So I can kind of see how I go into like the business aspect of it because we've been in business with Veritone and moving forward even with pharma. But also like the clinical or research aspect of it. And I think that's why Europe became such a big like drive for me because Germany, the Netherlands, like they are leaders in psychedelic research. And I think I just want to be like where that is. So I hope that wasn't too long of an answer, but I think that's kind of where I'm going with it.
No, I love all of that. I'm glad you got into as much detail as you have. And I like what are some of the to hone in on some of those like menopause and like different people that dealing with different challenges, whether it's mental health challenges or like physical changes in different stages of their life. Like when it comes to the benefits of where mushrooms can help with specific challenges like that. It's like people who have used mushrooms for different things, right? And it's like um I do think culturally mushrooms have become more culturally accepted as like, hey, these, aside from like, some high school, like the stereotypical idea of like some high school kids taking a bunch of mushrooms to just laugh and joke around and just trip out, trip balls and have a funny, memorable time, like just for like recreational entertainment, but more of from like an introspective healing benefit of these drugs, where it's like, aren't they doing like, do you know the book The Body Keeps the Score?
I
Have you,
literally read that book right now. Yeah.
you're reading it right now? I have another close friend who is reading it. I read 70% of it. Well, I did an audiobook on it like years ago. I didn't fit it, but my mind was blown. By the way, that book, like if anyone is interested in like how your body holds trauma and the different forms for like healing and like understanding trauma, and like um such a fascinating book that like has made me think so differently about everything. But I want to say, if I'm remembering correctly in that book, I think they talk about newer studies or newer methods of therapy where like they're doing these controlled ways where like, I mean, I guess the perfect example is like, aren't they doing that for like soldiers and like people from like PTSD from like war and stuff like that? And there's like incredible like benefits of that, but that's like more of like taking someone as like a specific trauma from like, you know war, or like PTSD from like veterans and stuff like that, but scaling it into this more like socially acceptable thing where like I think it's already headed in the direction of like you can go have like an experience of like a controlled mushroom trip with a doctor where it's like they're controlling the dose, they know that it's pure and whatever, and it's like they're doing it to like, how many stories have we all heard of like, especially, I mean, of course, like famous people in like pop culture of like podcasters and people coming out and being like, I go on these like, I have plenty of friends that like they travel to go on these retreats to where it's like I do MDMA and a mix of mushrooms, and they have like whoever, whatever they call the person who like leads those things, and it's like more and more people I know in my own life, but also in the media, it's like people are getting all these benefits from it. And as someone who, I mean, we're both very like deep people who are like very like the conversations that we have, it's like that's the one of the two biggest reasons why I'm so interested in talking to you about it and sharing the conversations about it, is because I know you're so knowledgeable on this because of like your self study and like your background and research, and like where you want to like literally research this and maybe like continue to explore and build a company around like how you can leverage psychedelic mushrooms to like help people with trauma, with physical issues. And it's like, I think it's two of the reasons why I'm so interested is one, I'm all about healing and finding ways to like improve your mental health and to like get the most out. Like Milk Today is about getting the most out of life. And it's like, if we can leverage something like in like without the stigma around mushrooms, and like I've had enough close, it always takes close people in your life having powerful transformative experiences from something that helps you drop any kind of misconceptions or stigma or negative stereotypes you have around the thing. And it keeps happening more and more and more. And I'm like, I'm interested in how it can unlock things and give you deep personal insights or the lasting effects of when you tap into this interconnectedness when you have a mushroom trip that like I would think that you'd be able to speak to. Like it's more intense in that moment, but I think you come out of that where it literally, down to a biological standpoint, reconnects things and changes you in a positive way where like it can even have a lasting effect where you come out of that mushroom, that powerful mushroom trip that was very transformative. How do you discover something about maybe your mission and your vocation in life and your direction, or like heal something internal that you're struggling with, or heal trauma or whatever, and maybe it's a mix of all of those things, so that you can like live your best life and become the most compassionate like person that you can become. I don't know, I just went all over the place, but
Oh, 100%. And I think it touches up on everything that you had talked about. I mean, I have friends who were on SSRIs their entire life, and they're just like, it's just not working. And then they've taken magic mushrooms, and they're just like, this has saved my life. Like, a lot of people equate saving my life to psychedelics. And I can see that as somebody who has struggled with mental health myself, just growing up in such a strict culture and background and expectations, you feel like the world is like falling on you. And then you take this and your body and your brain are like, no, there's like so much more. It's kind of like this like cheerleader that's like rooting for you. And it's like so beautiful because it's like it like reveals like self-love. It's like giving yourself a hug from the inside. Like I don't think a lot of people, you know,
That's a good way to put it.
you know what I mean? Like we all know what a hug feels like and it's fantastic. So imagine like your insides doing that to you. Like you matter. You are loved. Um, but then even for like women, right? Like we are governed by our cycles and um we have maybe 4 weeks in a month, and every single week something changes with us hormonally. And so we literally have to live by that. Like we have to be very aware of it. And then like when we go through like our periods, like we have no estrogen and we're women are governed by estrogen. Like it literally controls us. And when we don't have estrogen, we don't have our happy hormone, which is serotonin, and we're all bubbly and fantastic until you give us chocolate and steak and anything else that we ask for, mostly candy. But with psychedelics, it helps curb that because it can be a very dark time for women too. Like when you have no estrogen, you get really fucking depressed and like you just want to, the world needs to burn. Why is my boyfriend chewing so loud? I'm going to murder him if he breathes again. Like it's all collective, right? But then, you take some mushrooms and all of a sudden, you know what? Derek's not that bad. At least he brought me steak. You know what I mean? Like we can calm down. And so I think it has like a number of applications. I just picked that one specifically because I've had a lot of women come to me and even moms who talk about their daughters. Because especially as little girls, when they going through that transition, it's a lot. It's very overwhelming. I'm sure it's no different for like boys going through puberty. You're just like, what is going on? Like there's so much that I'm trying to
Yeah.
deal with. And so I hear that a lot, and especially just where we are with screens and technology and just so much information being thrown at us, it just helps everything calm down and connect. And I think that's really important too. So when you talk about the recreational sense, like, yeah, I've heard a lot of people who go like on day trips together, whether they're hiking or they're just chilling or they're in a concert or they're just doing like group activities and then they tend to take them. And then there's just like this connectedness because I think in the bottom, like at the end of the day, all humans are truly looking for is connection, whether with other people or with themselves. There's
Yeah.
always something that's disconnected. It's your relationships with other people or relationships with yourself. And if this can help you do that, then I feel like it's a win-win for everybody. And then even just for like women who are in menopause is your estrogen stops, right? And if that's something that is the fuel that runs you and you no longer have that because your body's like, I'm tapping out, like that can be a very challenging time. It's like going through puberty again. You know what I mean? So imagine that much
Mm.
later on. And so this helps a lot with like just the mental changes. And there have actually been studies where like magic mushrooms can even be like a pain reliever in some sense for like inflammation. And I've seen that. I've seen it in like family members who have had like back pain and then they've taken it and they're just like, wow, like I haven't taken like Advil for days. And when I took this, I felt more relief with this at a very small dose. So it's just like I feel like the applications are endless. And the more research we can do, the better because then there's so much more that we can use it for. I know a lot of terminally ill cancer patients end up using this to kind of be okay with the next stage with
Mm.
his death. So I mean, it's just such a versatile fungus. And I'm really excited to see how medicine uses it because we are moving towards personalized medicine. Like we're all individuals, and I really feel like this could do something for everybody, at least for the majority of it. So
No, I love it. I have never done mushrooms, but I almost did them with some friends during the pandemic. We like rented like an Airbnb in like Utah, and um, I did. I didn't end up doing them. A few of people I was with microdosed them, and I don't think it was enough for them to feel anything or whatever. So, but I didn't end up. I like backed out, and I didn't end up doing them. But I'm very interested in eventually starting off. I want to baby step into it, but I would like to microdose to start and see how that goes, and then maybe microdose a few times before doing more like the recommended dose to have like a more powerful experience. But I have not done it yet. And the way I think about it is, I mean, it's fear or whatever that it's gonna like go bad but even then it's like you don't there's so much growth and learning from a quote unquote, is there such thing as a bad trip? Like maybe the thing that you face internally that it activates or amplifies or whatever is something that it's going to be necessary or something that you needed to deal with internally. And maybe it was like to wrestle with past experiences or your fear or an uncertainty around something or whatever. It's like, I don't know. I guess as long as it's like, I know I'm taking, the mushrooms are like the right pure kind. And I know I'm taking a good recommended amount that's not going to completely overdo myself. I really don't have any like, I don't have any other reason to not try doing that for all the benefits that I hear from people close to me and from what I hear. And it's like, um, so I'm talking to you about all of this and I've not done it yet, but I'm very interested in trying it eventually.
So you are afraid to try a microdose because you think with a microdose you'll have a back trip?
No, no, I'm not worried about the microdose. I guess, if I were to take a dose that's like gonna really make me trip, like a stronger, I'm fearful around taking like a big dose because I'm just like afraid of what I feel. But I'm very interested in both. But the microdosing one doesn't really scare me. I just haven't made it a priority enough where it's like I schedule a weekend and like what I'm gonna do or who I'm to just do like a microdose. I just haven't done it yet, but
So
very
with
curious, very
with
curious.
magic mushrooms, one thing I will say, and this is why I think it's really important to have more education on it. So like with my friend, right? My first dose was a heroic dose. There are some people who take magic mushrooms and they will never do that dose because it's not a stepping stone. Like it's not like stairs. You can pick the dose that just worked for you. Like if you are fine with, I know people who have just always microdosed and they're like, I have no need to go higher. And then there are those
Mm,
people I know that have taken like 10 grams and they're just like, I'm basically God now. And I'm like, all right then, like what was the need for that? It's just everyone has a different need. And in terms of a bad trip, I think it's honestly, I think there's like two things too when it comes to a bad trip. I think a bad trip is when, for me, the definition is when, like, and this is the most like right-sided, it's like you are going into like psychosis now, and that's really bad because another thing that can happen depending on like your genetics or if you have family history, and I think this is why it's so important. If you have like a history of like schizophrenia or a family member, it's possible for you to take a dose and it just kind of turn on that gene in your brain. Sorry, that gene in your body, and then you can eventually just get stuck in psychosis, which I think is the worst of the worst situation. That happening though is a very low chance, again, because only you would know your family history, hopefully. Um,
mm,
but another thing is like I've had a lot of quote unquote bad trips where I was like, oh, I've actually taken too much by myself, even though I'm considered experienced. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going really bad. Like you're getting that anxiety, like you're starting to feel a lot. But then just like simple breathing techniques or focusing or distracting yourself will eventually get you out of it, hopefully. And then for me, everything that I've considered like a quote unquote bad trip has actually been the most profound trip or an
mm.
introspection. I probably would not have gotten if I did not go through that. So I think it just really depends on the person. So for me, when I hear like a bad trip, the worst case scenario is like you're going to go into psychosis. And at that point, like you're probably going to need like antipsychotic medication. That's never something I've seen personally. I have only read about it. But I have sat with people and like babysit them who have gone on trips, and I can see them getting into a place. Because the thing about mushrooms that I would say, I think the best way to describe it, it's like you have this giant like filing cabinet in your head, and you're going through all the files of your entire life very quickly. And then one will stick out to you, and then this file will come up. It's like, oh, it's about family or whatever, something that I've been avoiding. Things that you have been avoiding will really come up. Like it's just the way that the mushrooms are kind of like, you have to face this now because you've been going around in circles for so long. And so I think when you get to that file for some people where it's kind of like, well, let's just call it the dark shadow file, right? Like it comes up, it scares people and it's going to scare you. But like you said, like sometimes you have to be scared and sometimes growth is scary. But sometimes if you don't go through it, then you can't actually become the person that you've been becoming. So another really big thing about mushrooms that a lot of people don't know is you have like set and setting is everything. If you are not in a good place mentally, do not take them. If you do not have someone that you can call or someone that can check on you, don't take them like at a very high dose. Make sure you're not like in darkness, like in an unclean area. Like all your environment will eventually morph into the perception of what you're thinking or like enhance it or make it worse. So that's why for a lot of people when they're first doing it, it's better to do it outside in nature, especially with sun. That sun will kind of, warm you up. You're able to connect. You can breathe in fresh air. Like these are important things. But you should always have like an intention before like starting. And then if you ever get lost on your way, you can always just look at your intention again. And when a lot of people do this with their intention, it's kind of like what they're looking for in terms of introspection comes back into that. And then they're able to like, you can ask at a question like, why do I keep, like, why won't I just make a decision on the school? Like, what is it that I'm really afraid of? You can ask that as a question, or you can be like, I just want to be as self-aware as possible. I just want to give myself as much love as possible. You can do affirmations like that that you write before. And that's something that your brain just kind of locks in, it's kind of like that. And then you take the mushrooms, and then depending on the dosage or just how you metabolize it, you will either find the answer or you will find another door that will eventually take you to where you're leading to. And I know this sounds like very like a mystic and like spiritual, which I am neither, but I'm just like, I don't know how else to describe it. Like it's
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's very hard to quantify, I think. But I try very hard. But and another thing about mushrooms is there's four stages that you go through. So it's like you have like the come up stage. That's when you're like really feeling that there's something in your stomach. And it's kind of like taking off. Like you feel okay, like when the plane is going, you're like, okay, we're gonna take off, obviously. And it's the same thing with mushrooms. So you kind of take off and it kind of climbs slowly, depending on how strong the potency is. And then at the 2 hour mark is when you like peak. And that it's a window of probably like 15 to 30 minutes where you're just really in it. Like the questions you ask, the intentions, the connection, the compassion, the happiness. It's like at that 2 hour mark is like when all of your like happy neurotransmitters and like your brain chemicals are just going off and you're just like, I'm seeing fireworks. Like this is fantastic. And then you'll eventually taper down and then it's kind of like the landing. So it's about a 4 hour trip that I'm not sure if a lot of people know. And then it's also dependent on what you're eating. So that can also kind of affect it. But that's kind of what it is for the most part. And then during those 4 hours, you're kind of experiencing different things. A lot of people experience like connection with earth and nature and connection to family, like they remember their parents or their siblings, or friends, and then they kind of connect with themselves. And then you just kind of climb down and it becomes almost like a cliff notes of everything that you've experienced that just kind of continue on. But I kind of like that because it's kind of like getting away from home but you're not actually getting away. But you feel like you went on a vacation almost in a sense. Like you're obviously not the same person you were 4 hours ago, at least mentally, if that makes sense. Like your perception or something in you has shifted. And I think that's why a lot of people like it because it's short enough for like a half a day trip. It's not long, like, LSD, I think is like in the 10 plus hours, or like ayahuasca, which was like a 3 day thing and there's a lot of purging. So I think that's why this shows so much promise is because it's still short
Mm,
enough to what you need, but also long enough to kind of give you that like release that you've been looking for.
right, right. Um, yeah, it's so interesting. It's so interesting. Um, to shift gears into when you visited Germany and like, I just love, I would love to talk about, oh wait, I lost you. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Oh, there we go. I thought I lost your audio. Do you want to, I'd love to talk about like what, what you love about Germany, what you loved about, were you there for 1 or 2 weeks? You visited
14
and you
days.
were
14 days, yeah. It was in 14 days.
like what you love about Europe in general and specifically Germany, about their culture, the experience you had when you visited there, about like the people you met, the experiences you had, and like why you feel so drawn and passionate about living in Europe and Germany specifically. Because when we, like, you lit up when we talked about that and you shared some experiences that you had. It was like, it just made a lot of really great points about everything that's great about Europe and Germany. Like,
So Germany was a lot of fun and I was not expecting it, but I think last year I kind of was in this mindset of like just do the things that you're scared of doing. And I really wanted to go to Europe for like at least like 6 years. It all started when I was like I had dated a guy from Austria and the nicest, most respectful man I have ever met in my life, like so unbelievably intellectual. I think that's something that I kind of struggle with here in America and just even California. I mean, I was, born in the Bay, and the Bay is a very intellectually strong place. Like the academics there are very, very rigorous. Um, and it's not that Southern California doesn't have it, but Southern California has more of a laid back type of thing. And as you know, I'm like a really deep thinker. I like to ask provoking questions. I like to get into all of that good stuff. And so I always struggle to find people who actually want to talk about depth. I think that's something that I don't find too often, even here in California. And I love California. I love the people here. But so these guys that I dated, I dated a guy from Austria and then I dated a guy from Germany. And it wasn't going to work out with either. But the way that they kind of let me down. Like the rejection was so unbelievably respectful. Like there was no ghosting. It was just very honest. They're very direct. And I was just like, I couldn't like text my panel of girlfriends and be like, can you believe this is what this guy did? I was just like, I have never been let down so nicely before. And even I knew it wasn't going to go anywhere. But it's just like you said, that initial having to go through with those feelings. And so I just had this like, there was just something in my gut that was like, you need to go to like Germany, you need to go to Europe.
mhm.
I love Germans. I love their directness. They're so like the men are so manly to me. I'm just like, oh my God, wow. The women are just like gorgeous models. I'm just like, what is in the water? Like, what is going on here? That's literally, all. I was just like I remember we had a girl, was like a foreign exchange student, but we didn't really exchange anybody. We just like got her, and she was from Cologne, Germany. And this girl was like gorgeous. She's like, I don't know, like 5'11", or like she's tall, beautiful blue eyes, blonde hair, and her name was Joanna. And she was just like, oh yeah, like everyone's a model in Cologne. And I was like, a model? And they're like, yeah, like I modeled, my sister modeled. Like it's just so nonchalant. And I was just like, these people are just like beautiful. Like they're just gorgeous. And she was so smart. And so I think that interaction and then the guys that I had dated, there was just something in my gut that was like, dude, go explore, have fun. And I love traveling. So last year I finally like bit the bullet and I was like, I'm gonna go. I was also like in therapy. I was doing EMDR and my therapist was like, oh, you definitely need to go to Europe. And I know like a lot of Americans get that like Euro trip, like after high school or college, they get to take that gap year and they just get to go away for like a month or two. And I'm
Yeah.
here like I'm like here in my mid late 30s and I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna go on my Euro trip, basically. So I took 14
It's never
days.
too late. It's never too
Oh
late to
God.
travel.
It's not, no. And it honestly was so affordable. And I'm so glad that I did it. But like I went without a plan. I just knew that I was going to be there for 14 days. I just knew what airport I was flying into and which one I was flying out to. And I was just like, it's gonna be a fucking adventure. Like I love adventures. So I was in Frankfurt, Berlin, and Cologne. And I flew out of Frankfurt. And it's like really funny because like whenever I tell people whether they're like Europeans or Americans, they're just like, that's kind of odd. Like most Americans, they just do like a lot of like country hopping because it's just so close, everything's so close by. And that's like another thing that I love about Europe, like the transportation. I know it has its criticisms, but it is far superior than the transportation we have here in America. Like luckily I didn't have any late trains or any of that, but the fact that I could pay like 100 euros and like literally get across from like Berlin to like Cologne. To me, that was like totally worth it. Or maybe it would probably been cheaper than that.
Yeah.
Um, but what I really loved about it was, I think, so the thing I really love about like Germany is like it's a secular country. Even though it has a very strong and historic like Catholic culture to it, like the Catholic Church is there, it's still very secular in its government. And I really love that because evidence goes with secularism. And so Germany is very strong in a lot of things, especially as someone who works in pharma. Like I was actually really surprised by a lot of the stuff that they have there that you would never see in America. So one of the biggest things that like surprised me is like Germany and like the Netherlands and stuff, they have like sex clubs or they have like literally you could just go in and like have sex with like a prostitute or whatever. Probably not. I shouldn't probably call her that because she's like employed and she probably has a W-2. But like you can just go and like take care of your biological needs and then like you're done. And it's not considered weird. And they have such low rates of like STDs and just like HPV across the board. And I was like, how is that possible? And it's because of this openness. They're just like, it's a biological process. Like the more you repress it, the worse things get. And we see that here, like STD rates are like through the roof. HPV is kind of on the rise again in some places with adults. And so that like education in something that's so basic that is considered so shameful and guilty in Germany, it's just considered normal. And I'm on that side, like because I'm so scientific, like everything to me is like a biological process. So I don't really see things as like TMI or like, this is too much. And I really love
Mm.
that because I feel that openness is what is a part of their culture of the directness. So that's another really big thing that I loved about Europe and Germans. They're just very direct with you. Like if they like you, they're going to tell you they like you. If they don't, they don't. And I really love knowing where I stand with people because I'm a very direct person. And I know that probably doesn't land a lot with a lot of people. I'm nice about it, but like when I'm just like, yeah, so like, what are your thoughts on this? Or like, I was not
Yeah.
expecting that. So I really related. And then weirdly, Andrew, like being South Asian and in like Germany, it really just felt like a second home to me. Like I saw so many other South Asians. Nobody knew I was American until I literally opened my mouth. They're like, "Oh, you're American." They thought I was either from like India or Pakistan or wherever, but I loved the international community. And
Mm.
the food
Mm.
was just such high quality. Like I took a picture of myself like the day I landed and then the day I left, and it was like a visible difference. Like my body was actually responding, and I think that's was the biggest takeaway for me. Like it wasn't just a vacation because like I'm always happy when I'm on vacation. Like my nervous system was very regulated. Like my hair is curly and the curls were just like holding with the hair, like with the water that they had. I was sleeping like really well, like literally like 9, 10 hours no problem. I felt very, very safe. Like I would get off the U-Bahn or like their transportation system, like it's kind of like a subway. Not a subway, it's kind of like the metro. I would just get off at like 2 o'clock in the morning, like hanging out with friends that I made. I never had to like look around or feel like I could be walking around with like headphones on, blasting music 2 o'clock in the morning, and I would feel completely safe because there's like so much police everywhere. I never got creepy vibes from anybody. Everyone was just so friendly, so sweet, so nice. A lot of really good looking guys. Like I was just like, are you real? Like I wish I had taken pictures of them. I hear there's something called like the German
That's
stare,
how
and
I feel about German women, is the same way you feel about German guys. It's
I do, yeah.
yeah, it's um yeah, I remember on like debriefing your trip with you, and you were just like so passionate about their culture and like for all the reasons you just shared about like how great it is. And funny enough, I made a friend at the gym recently who studied abroad there in college, fell in love with the vibe and the culture and the people, and he's like doing all the things to like get his career in a place where he can go live and work there and move there internationally because he loves it so much he wants to go back and like is open to being there longer term. So he's going to find his way back in the next year or so. I think he's going to get his master's in something and do the master's program over there or something, and then do whatever needs to do to be able to like work there afterwards or whatever. But I don't know. It's um, I've made a handful of really awesome German friends when I was traveling in Australia, and just from like people kindness and like fun and just the direct all the things that you're describing, like the character qualities of German people. It's like it just it sounds so fun. Like it just like living there or like visiting there. And ever since I made some closer friends from Germany too, I've been on a German kick of like wanting to visit there and spend more time there. But dude, just the idea of living there sounds awesome. And I haven't even visited yet, but
Definitely
um,
go. I'm going to like the Netherlands and like Spain, and some other places this year. Like I have a friend in my CrossFit gym, and he was like, "Why are you trying to go to Germany?" Like he was like, he's from the Netherlands, and he just moved here, Orange County recently. I was like, I just love Germany. I loved everything about it. He's like, no, go to the Netherlands. It's like way more fun. It's more international. It's very like it's not that Germany wasn't like English based. Literally 90+% of the people spoke English. I think I only ran into two people who just didn't speak English and they spoke German.
hmm.
But, like hand gestures were enough to actually get like my point through, which just shows you that, nonverbal communication is actually we get it more than verbal communication. But he's like, no, go to the Netherlands. Like literally everybody and their mom speaks English there. And my company actually has a bigger office in the Netherlands, so I'm actually excited to explore it. But it's interesting because I always get this question because like I'm from California and a lot of people are like, you're gonna like leave California and like the sunniness to go into like the gloom of like Europe. And I'm just like, dude, I have 27 countries to pick from. Like, imagine that. I can fly or take a train or do whatever to get to 27 different countries. I cannot do that here in America. You know what I mean? And like everything, it's different. Like, okay, like if I'm tired of the gloom, I'm just gonna fly over to Spain because it's literally just 2 hours away. And then I'll just be like at the sunny beaches of Spain, like drinking a margarita or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, so to have
Yeah.
that at my fingertips, like I love adventures. Like I love traveling. I would do that. And then on top of that, like I will always have family here, like I have my siblings and my parents. And so I can always come back. And so I know that's kind of like the best of both worlds. But I think it's just time for me to follow like my intuition. Like I was just so happy there. And like I said, it wasn't vacation happy because I've been to like Hawaii. Hawaii's fantastic. Like I love, just like the beaches and stuff there. I've been to Costa Rica, I've been to Pakistan. And so there was just something about it that really drew me in. And I think we owe it
Yeah.
to ourselves to just really follow that feeling because you just never know what's going to happen. And like I said, like those two guys that I did, I never in my life thought that I would date like an Austrian and a German, but they had changed me so profoundly inside, or they showed me a side of me that I didn't think that I would be able to get with like if I had dated an American, or because I've had so many American like boyfriends and dates and stuff. So I'm just kind of on this like, and ever since that trip, because I was just like, I'm so happy that I followed my gut. Like, I'm so happy I followed my gut. Even being back in California and like driving around and stuff, like things just seem so weird. Like, I'm just like, that, like I think I had told you one really big thing that I love about Germany, because not only am I a humanist, like public health was my degree. Like, they are very citizen forward. And I think that's why everyone feels so
I
safe
remember
there.
you mentioning that. Yeah.
People are like for people. Like Cologne is a very considerate town, like there was no dog crap anywhere because people are, oh, I mean, there's like some here and there, but not to the extent like here that you find like on the sidewalks or like their traffic lights. Like the crosswalk there is like so far away from the where the car actually stops. While over here in America, like you can literally look into probably somebody's backpack. That's how close you are when they're walking past you. You know, you're just like, if a car hits me, that guy's gonna go flying. And so we don't like everything we do is just it doesn't make sense, but everything they do makes a lot of common sense
Yeah.
that we usually have to take into law when we become reactive. So I think when somebody finally gets hit, like at a crosswalk here, I shouldn't laugh. They're just like, oh, we should probably change a law to like maybe back up a little bit. While Germany has thought about that like decades in advance, they're just like, no, like if this happens, someone's gonna get hurt. And then it's just so like walking friendly. So you can walk anywhere, you can bike anywhere. And so I feel like they really take like preventative health into consideration. Like these are really big things. While here in America, like you have to drive everywhere. Like I'm in California, I cannot get to the next town without driving. You know what I mean? So these little things, like I love walking around. You meet so many people, you get to try
Yeah.
fresh foods. I think that's something that we're kind of missing, or that's something you only get in like extremely affluent parts of America. And that's kind of a shame because like over there it's a little bit more universal. And of
Yeah.
course, I'm not saying Europe is perfect because I think that's the whole point. Like wherever humans are, nothing can be perfect. But it just spoke to me in a way that as somebody who was born and raised in like California in the United States, like it was very inviting and I just feel like I need to see where it goes.
Yeah. No, I'm really excited about all your ideas and developing goals around your wanting to study psychedelics, and you have these ideas to start a business and a company around specifically wanting to help people in these different use cases that uses something like psychedelic mushrooms to help. And your desire to like live in a culture that really resonates and speaks to you, and like um it just makes me excited because I know you have a lot of things in the works right now, and I think we'll do a podcast again in the future, and we'll look back on being like, because we're both in some interesting like stages of our life with some different business ideas and where we want to take the next stage of our life, and it's just we've already been friends through a lot of these different seasons or whatever, so I feel like where we're at now is also on the cusp of a lot of other really cool things. And I was just talking to my friend the other day, like one of the reasons why I'm weary of like long-term goals nowadays is because like how quickly things can change and how many things outside of your control can like happen to shift, and you change course or you change your mind about how you do something, or just action leads to experience and then you reevaluate based off of doing something and it changes. And it's like it really is such a journey, and we've both had an interesting one over the last like 3 years, and it's kind of like I think we're narrowing it down and kind of really we've as friends in our conversations over the years, we've really been like narrowing down and getting clearer and clearer about like the different, because we have a lot of interest and a lot of different passions and a lot of different paths, and we're like exploring through or whatever. But I feel like you're really onto something with this, and I'm excited to see where it goes. And um one other thing I was going to say, one of my biggest takeaways that I said on my Australia podcast too, is that, which is so interesting because it sounds so simple or whatever, but I found that like I had to go live on the other side of the world in a beautiful paradise of a place that I romanticized in certain aspects, where I was like, I learned one, all the adventure and the fun and the newness, and like Australia is one of those places where it's like I would love to live there long term and has long term potential or whatever. But I just realized like through and through from being in Australia for some time, it's like I have so much value in the long term of my relationships in my life, to where like I can live in the most beautiful paradise place ever. But if I don't have quality friends or family or community, to experience it with, to have shared experiences, to enjoy it with, and to like feel a sense of belonging community, which takes a long time to build. So when you only go somewhere for a year, you just start to develop that a little bit and then you're gone. But it's like, I'm not saying any of that to you or anyone who's like, I want to go live abroad because I think things are better over here. Because in a lot of ways they are. In some ways they're not. In some ways they're neutral or the same or whatever. But it was really, really interesting, um, from like a fulfillment, like day to day, once the novelty kind of wore off, that like 10 different people can go to the same thing I did and have a completely different experience. And maybe their thing wasn't that they were like, the relationship that I have, the relationships that I have back home where I'm from aren't maybe the kind of relationships I value or want to create, to the point where I've found that here, and it has more of like the lifestyle and just like the culture and stuff that I want. And it's like anything that I took away has nothing to do with them or theirs or whatever. But it's interesting to, um after being abroad, like coming back here and thinking about, this is the first time and season of my life where I'm being very intentional and very thoughtful and more long-term minded about the things that I want and that I need to live my most fulfilling life and to define success however we define it or whatever it is. But like, there are so many cool, amazing countries. Like two of my closest friends live in Lisbon, Portugal now, and like they love it. His wife's from there, and it's like you visiting there and wanting to move to Germany, and my other friend who wants to move to Germany. It's like there's so many cool, amazing cities out there, and just thinking about how life changing it could be to like go live abroad, go try it out. Like you don't know if it'll last a year, 3 years, 5 years, or become your whole life. If anything, I think it's like you said, it's paying attention and following your intuition, getting out of your comfort zone, moving towards and like taking the leap to like do those things, whatever they are, and then just being fluid with how long they last, what you learn from them. It's like, because it's all a journey. Everything could change in a moment. Like we don't know where shit's gonna lead. And I just think, I'm just really excited about the things we both have going on right now. At the beginning of this year, from our last conversations, like I know we're gonna start chipping away at the things that we're wanting to do. And I just think about these podcasts too as like a time capsule. It's kind of like, where the hell will we be as friends, and what will we be doing in our lives 6 months from now, a year from now? And by the next time, I really believe in what you're doing and what you're going to create. And I think we'll look back on this, and when we do our next podcast, like you could already be rocking and rolling with the brand and the company, or be in Germany or studying, getting your master, PhD. I don't know.
Yeah, like that's the thing. I'm just like being open about it. And like it's funny you said that because I think our last conversation I had brought up like this book that I read, like The Midnight Library.
Oh yeah.
And it was like honestly, I love that book, like 10,000 out of 10. Like everyone should definitely read it. And I think I've just kind of, as much as I'm like addicted to like TV shows, that's just what I and movies growing up. Like I'm shifting back into like books because like I said, like there's like millions of books that have been written by people, and this one was just so profound because it's about a girl who like has all these regrets. Like she's super smart, and there's like so much she could have done. Like she could have been like an Olympic swimmer, and she's just at this point where she's just like, I never had the life that I want. And I feel like a lot of people feel that, especially like millennials. I don't know if it was written by a millennial or not, but basically she gets to go, like she's in this purgatory state where she gets to try every single life that she wished that she had done. And the beautiful thing about the book is eventually she chooses the life that she's currently in, that she didn't like initially, but she has so much gratitude for the fact that she's like alive and that she can try things. And I think I told you at one point she had gone through like hundreds and thousands of like the parallel universes of her life. And it got quicker and quicker and quicker in what she did like and what she didn't like. And I think that's the thing, like, even for me, like, what I have come out of, like, I came out of a very strict upbringing, like everything was governed and controlled for me, even though, like, it didn't seem like it. Even my culture, like, my parents, like my mom had started like my wedding proposals at like 16. My brain's not even fully developed. Like I'm coming home from high school and like my clothes are waiting for me. Like that the image of that will always be like seared in my mind. And that continued for 10 years. And the thing is, like, I know girls who just did that, who just like got married really, really young, had
Yeah.
children. I just see this like malfunction that has happened in them. And I'm just like grateful and lucky to have asked one too many questions where I'm at this point now where I can like live freely and do whatever I want to do and like actually try these things. And I think that's just what life is, right? Like life is experiences. Like at the end of your life, you're going to be given 7 seconds and it's going to be like this slideshow of like every fantastic thing you've ever experienced. Like, what do you want those 7 seconds to look like? And so for me to go on as many adventures as possible, have as many experiences, meet as many people, like that's to me, that's like I cannot ask for a better life. And then to even do what I want to do, like medicine is just so strong in me. It's like literally innate. Like to just keep being called back to that, even in pharma. And trust me, like pharma is fantastic. It's a fantastic place to work. It's very ta well taken care of, but it's like that fulfillment aspect of me just won't go away. As I get older, and a lot of women have told me to this too, like even in Europe, they're like, no, you need to do you. Like, and I think growing up in the era that I did, like everything was like wait until you get married, wait until your husband does this for you. Like I always had to wait for somebody in order for my life to begin, because in my
Mm,
culture a woman's life doesn't begin until she gets married, and you get married really early and then everything is kind of done for you. But I'm so independent now, which I'm extremely happy and proud of, to be able to do these things, because now for me, like I all that's been like wiped away and I can just focus on actually having a connection with somebody, or just like with people in general, or like having those relationships, because I've seen so many women who have just like this is just what my life has become and I'm trying to make the best of it now, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like that's not the end for you, like there's so much more. And so for me to have this opportunity to just finally try the amount, like the lives like that girl has able to try, I think that gives me that like feeling of like aliveness, and it just kind of draws me closer to like what my old PI or my boss used to say, like you need to look for your North Star. And I'm just getting closer and closer and closer to it. And I think that's just like really exciting, because when you do stuff like this, it just takes you back to like your childlike state. And to be honest, like we're all just a bunch of fucking kids. Like the youngest kid that you find to like the oldest boomer you'll find, like we're all just kids like deep down inside. And that's just what we want to be, that's just what humans are. So to be able to live this life and to get back to like my childlike nature, I think has been like the biggest takeaway of like 2025. And that's something that I hope to just keep as a perspective, even like as I
mm,
get old. Because like,
I
I
love
mean,
that. Yeah.
people like see me and they're just like, you're like so full of life. Oh, you probably don't have kids. Yeah, I don't have kids. Like I am just a giant kid, to be honest. I love my nieces, but like why not? Like, why not have that full of life? Because I think the only thing that I can give another person in my interactions with them is like joy, because that's what I was when I was a kid. I was just really joyful. And that's just me being a true version of me. And I think that's where we are as well as humans. The closer we are just being the truest version of ourselves, like then you can finally have that life that you actually, want. Like for yourself, Andrew, like you went to Australia, you were with the kangaroos. You could have stole a Joey, but you didn't. You could have stayed there. You could have stayed in that path, and but it wasn't for you. And then you came back, and now you are more aligned with who you want to be. And I think that's a really beautiful thing, because that's something we're not taught. That's something that a lot of people don't have. Um, the ability to do or the privilege to do. But if you can do it, then do it. You know what I mean?
For sure. There's yeah, there's just and that's I mean, not to get too far into the Australia thing, but it's like seeing the world, adventuring, meeting people, experiencing what it's like to live there and all the amazing parts about it. But then there's all the challenging sides about it where it's like I still did some of the best traveling I've ever done in my life and met amazing people and got to see what it was like. But then at the same time had these like bigger, deeper takeaways that were challenges at the time and um I appreciate both of them, and it made the experience what it was. And um, I'm just lucky and blessed that I even had the opportunity to do it. And it wasn't a it was a mixed thing of growth and challenges and amazing highs and seeing the world and experiencing things. And yeah, it's wild. It's wild, honestly. I think well, I know we could go on and on, but no, Sana, I believe in you and everything that you're up to. I love you dearly. I'm so glad we just finally did this, and I love our conversations. I'm excited to see where life takes both of us, and um, yeah, I just really appreciate you. Hopefully, thank you anyone who listened to this, and hopefully you got something out of it. But this was a long time coming, and we'll do it again, and we'll see where we're at then.
Most definitely. Thank you so much for having me on, Andrew. I know we like talked about it for so long, but I'm really glad that this is something that you do because, again, like just with mental health and everything we've talked about, like sometimes all it takes is like
Yeah,
one session of hearing like one podcast that can like change your life or just kind of get you back to where you need to get back to. And I just really love the concept that you have with Milk Today, like how it originated and that you're still going with it. So like I already know you're going to be successful and like I feel like me just being this random person on this podcast is just kind of like, yeah,
random first.
I knew him when he had like an audience of 200, and I know him when he has an audience of like 2 million. And it's just like, when you get to see those like early comedians or like actors, and you're just like, yeah, I was there in the beginning. So I mean, I'm very grateful that, I even had this opportunity to talk about my story or just myself. But I also really love our friendship and I cherish you deeply, and I just know you're going to make it. And I'm really excited to see for both of us whenever if we do a podcast again, like where we are. But if you ever need any
Yeah.
consult on any microdosing or anything and you need more questions, just let
Yes, I will be using you for that, and feelings mutual. And thanks for sharing your story and opening up about it and telling us more about your perspective on the mushrooms and stuff. And also, um, truly, like I was just even thinking about this year or whatever, but like you have consistently been someone who is like truly like constantly encouraged me and like believed in me since the day I met you. Like everything's been super, super encouraging for me to do all the different stuff that I've done. Like genuinely, I don't like. I have a lot of friends, but of those friends, like there's certain people that are like just like really tell me consistently like, hey, I believe in what you're doing. You can do this, like do this, and like genuinely trying to inspire me to do it. And believe, like you just consistently believed in me ever since we've been friends, and I really, really appreciate it. Like I've always been that kind of friend, like in the most genuine fucking way. So, um, yeah, you fucking rock, dude. I'm just glad we did it. Like, fuck, it's been years, years. We did it. It's done. It's done.
no, but Andrew,
Fuck.
like like I just feel like some people, like when you meet them, you just kind of know, you just know that they're gonna make it. And as I'm a very direct person, like if I didn't think you were going to make it, I'd be really like honest with you. I'd be like, Andrew, I think we need to have a conversation about this. But no, from day one, like on our Zoom meeting or whatever, I was like, that guy, whatever he chooses to do, he's going to do it, like without a doubt in my mind. And I think that's the beauty of friends, right? Like friends are like the family that you get to pick.
When you
And it's
see
just
the potential in each other.
exactly. And so when you have those friends that see you and you keep them in your close circle, then look what you're doing, Andrew. Like, look where you are. Like, just from 3 years ago to now. That's why I'm just like, I get to watch the progression like it's a film or a story. And all I do is grab my popcorn. And that's why I just really love checking in. And it's the same. Like, I have friends that see me, or I've had people tell me, they're like, yeah, you're going to like do big things. And I'm like, sure I am. But then slowly by slowly, I'm like chipping away at it. And people were like, see, like, I just knew that was going to happen. So like we already know and we can see it. And I don't know if it's like energy or what is it that you see in another person, but you can just always tell. And I think it just goes back to that intuition.
Yeah.
But much love for you, Andrew, always. And yeah, I'm excited to see what happens for you.
No, I believe in you wholeheartedly as well, and your potential, and um we'll continue to just push each other to do it. And
Like six packs.
yes. What was I gonna say? I think there was something else, but I can't remember what it was. But no, all feelings mutual, Sana. You rock, and um, we'll we've got to keep pushing each other to hold each other accountable and do all the shit because there's, you know how it is, like life happens or whatever. But oh, that's what I was gonna say is we've been close through the stages of being lost and uncertain and like going through these life transitions where there's these periods of like I'm eager and I'm impatient for clarity and figuring out what's next. And then sometimes we pick something up and it doesn't and set it back down or whatever. But I think we've just continuously getting narrowing and getting closer and closer to the clarity that we need so that we can remain consistent and dedicate ourselves to the different things that we're doing. And like it's constantly changing, but um
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like there's been so many seasons of our lives where it's like I don't necessarily know what I'm doing next. And then you talk a month later, and then you have this new direction, and you actually do whatever it is that you say that you do, or whatever. And anyway, I know we're being super redundant, but guys, get out there and milk the day. And thank you for listening, and thank you, Sana. I love you all, and until next time.
Bye, guys. Thanks for having me, Andrew.
Of course. So glad you're down. See you, everybody. Peace.